Okay, so hope everyone can see me, sorry, can hear me and also see the screen. Okay, that means the screen has come. Praise the Lord, everyone who is joining us, to the organizers and Emma and the team ever cooking on this CEO bootcamp. Thank you so much for dedicating time. You see, if we are to change the world, we are going to start with our own households. But also, if we are to change the world, we are going to go with a very few people for the world to get changed. You wait a little bit on every single person to get ready. We may not go anywhere. I'm excited to be here again, there to speak about a subject that I like so most, and that's entrepreneurship and creating value in communities. And I'm so happy to be back home in the Christ, to be sharing these knowledges and ideas with people who are believers of not only Christ, but also believing in change and creating their own things moving forward. So maybe a recap from yesterday. Yesterday, I talked about starting the idea, building your idea through passion, through knowledge and profitability, bit of it, but also to take you into the ideation sounds and ideation canvas, asking questions to users or to yourself or to your team as you're creating the next big thing that can impact community and society. So I think maybe you try, those who were online, try to maybe process the information through the night or today. I challenge you to also be out there and you're adding on whatever we give you. It's not that we are masters or islands of everything, but we also pick out of so many things to see what we can bring. So tonight, you're going to look at design thinking. So, and we are going to be sharing as well as looking at the text on the slides or on the presentation, just to guide us so that we don't go astray. So if you're having a writing pen and a writing pad or a book, I challenge you to use them and write something today called design thinking. Design thinking does not only apply to people that have no business idea at all. Even us that are running businesses every single day, I challenge you to redesign and rethink your business model by following some of the things that we are going to share today. So, and this is public knowledge. It's not that you sat and create these things. These are in the open space. We have generative AI to help you to come up with things that can help you. So I want to begin by asking Joshua Joel, if you could unmute yourself. If you have a better background as well, to read for me what design thinking is, if you can see my screen. Joshua Joel.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Awesome. Design thinking is a human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving using a design mindset to solve complex problems.
Thank you so much. Joshua, Joel, which business are you trying to build? Or which business are you running or you intend to start?
I'm running a real estate business, buying land, title surveys, and yeah, that's what I'm running. So
okay. Okay, you are into the real estate sector. I don't know whether you know that that's one of the fastest growing subsector in the manufacturing sector in Uganda. You see every single Ugandan want to put up something and construct something. Everyone who gets some small money, someone tells you, have you bought land? Have you started constructing? So you should be backing your business with a lot of information and research. Of course, when you look at the housing deficit in a country called Uganda, we don't even have closed quarter of the housing facilities for households as well. If you check in the villages, people sleep. I don't want to mention, but you see how people sleep, and and people are not only taking land for probably residential purposes. Now you in the real estate sector, you should be redesigning and rethinking business model. People are taking land for maybe commercial purposes, trying to put projects on their land. People are constructing condominiums on it. So you're going to sit down a bit and actually now map out your clients very well. And you're going to definitely take a human-centered design of an approach called design thinking. So design thinking is human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving using design mindset to solve complex problems. That's why if today we are talking about, for example, artificial intelligence to help us come up with business ideas. Do you know they are just going to remain on paper because artificial intelligence is not actually going to implement those ideas. Those ideas have to be humanized, have to be really brought in an approach of a human mind to make them work. So if today we are looking at creativity, innovation, and experimentation, I want to bring this very, very important approach called design thinking. If you're in the starting stage, if you're in an acceleration stage, if you're already running your business, even us back here, if everyone has gone back, I'm going to, of course, finish like at 9, and then I'll leave this office like at around midnight or 11. But I'm working on a certain idea or a project within our business model. We are reaching out to all the embassies in Uganda that are into the European Union. We want to have an exchange program with there are universities that are based in Europe to come up with probably conservation projects that they can come and do and work, but at the end of the day, they take a safari. So we want to design such packages for such, Instagrammable students that are based in the EU sector, in the EU region. But at the end of it all, we want actually to be able to sell our packages. So we've crafted something called purpose-driven tourism program or travel with purpose. You know very well that the world now is very, very, very concerned about sustainable tourism, about the way people travel and eco bit of it. So you put your mind to work and say, how is this one going to work? So what I'm going to talk about is to come up with an approach that helps you to solve complex problems in your own ideas. So when you look at just at the real estate sector alone, Joshua, you'll be amazed that if you just put your mind to question and actually to task, you could actually come up with better innovations and better products that you can actually offer to the market. Not like any other broker or any other real estate or property manager who is just having a land, getting surveyors, making measurements 50 by 100 and selling to people. Right now for you, you'll be challenged to say, okay, if I'm going to buy land, you're even looking at what area is probably in the next probably priority in terms of infrastructure support, like road, like electricity distribution and grid, like water. When you go back to the national budget, when they read the budget, if you look at what roads are going to be made in the metropolitan, that's where you should be going to buy land, because then you'll be easily convincing the clients to buy land because the certain roads are going to be made, certain electricity distribution will go to that area. Maybe people can put schools. Of course, no one want to go buy in an area where there's no road, where there's no access to the internet, where there's no access to water, where there's no access to electricity. So when you put your mind to task, Joshua, you'll definitely come up with different ways of actually doing some different things. And the real estate sector is one of the fastest growing subsectors as well. You need to have the statistics, you need to have all the things that you need. So that's design thinking. And I'm just using Joshua as a case in this deep dive before we go any further. So in this bootcamp, you're going to go back to your ideas, to your businesses, to your projects that you're designing, that you're running, that you wish to start, to question the status quo. And we're going to go through a design thinking matrix or a tool that will help us to bring it to life. Now, the question is, if you're talking about design thinking, let me just go back to it, which is a human-centered collaborative approach, human-centered and collaborative approach to problem solving. You need to consider your projects or your companies as solutions to the problems that are happening in society. So if you're having an approach problem solving using a design mindset to solve complex problems, meaning you're offering a solution. So that one is going to be definitely tech for approaches. The first element of the approach is going to be people-centered. You're going to definitely rethink your business idea on people. You're not just going to use it on maybe on wildlife or on buildings or non-living things. You're going to, the first element is about people. Should be people-centered. I want you to think about toothpaste. Toothpaste. And yeah, Joshua is okay. Oh, Sharon's phone has got a network. I don't know, Sharon, whether you're back or is it me or your network? Maybe you can maybe double check and then maybe rejoin. But I wanted you to think about toothpaste. Toothpaste. Okay, bathing soap, for example. And I want you to compare the current times and the ancient times when our grandfather, I want to imagine my grandfather, he passed on in 2012. I want to imagine, and he was born, he told me he was born in 19, I think he was born in 1988. I think, if I'm to remember very well. He used to tell us a very, very early age when he was born. I think 1930. You see. I think he was born around 1918 because yeah, he died in 2012, and I think he was born around 1925, 1927. You can imagine that, yeah. I don't know whether you can imagine. Those are like almost, then when he passed on, he was around 86 years. He was really old, but not so much old, but again strong. And these guys actually had every single, herbal medicine that they would use probably in terms of medicine, in terms of, let's say, I was talking about just where every single day, every person here on this call gets whatever brand you're using, Colgate, then Alvaro, and so many other products that have come on. But you know very well that if you use that toothpaste, it's going to make your teeth clean, but also it's going to give you a good breath. And I want to challenge you for a week. I want you to just go and get that Mululuza stick and start brushing your teeth for a week. And you see, and you go to work, and you breathe in and out with colleagues, and actually they give you feedback if your mouth probably. And maybe also you, I don't want to tell you not to brush, but I wanted to just to compare what the guys used to do, what they used to use long time ago, and actually currently when we are using the different products in this world or this business. These guys that came up with advanced medicine on toothpaste, of course, they have done a lot of research on especially the dentist. I want to imagine dentists imagine what can keep people's teeth stronger, clean, white, and cavity issues, and being able to come up with strong teeth, maybe. They had to sit down and actually look at it from a human-centered point of view, people-centered point of view. Look at the clothes that you're putting on. Just been chilly, I think, this evening, and someone said, okay, we will need actually a raincoat. Long a time ago, they were using maybe bark cloths. I don't know how they used to keep warm, but maybe they would go near fire, and people were coming up with all these ideas that you see on the market. Those guys, and that's no wonder most of our economy is dominated by brands from outside the world, where people actually put designs to a human thinking to say, okay, this is where the world will be. We want actually to do this. And today, entrepreneurship has evolved. It's very easy now to create things. You can just imitate what Emma is doing, and also you come up with the exact business like the way Emma is doing it. But the issue maybe would come on how you're going to approach your market. What I'm trying to say that if you're having a business today, real estate, for example, maybe you are in craft, crochet making, you first look at the people. You're like, I think, what would these people actually want? If you're asking those questions, you're like, okay, I think they will do this. And you allow them actually even to go through a test. In Uganda, we don't have so many businesses that actually are acceptable because they have not gone through a test. Anyone can come up with an end product and is selling it in paper bags, in what? And when UNBS comes in a bit, people make noise. But guys that have lived in Europe or have friends in the UK, you cannot just come up with a drug like Mtunda, Liwonya, if you have ulcers. But in Uganda, there are guys, the entrepreneurs that are making herbs on the streets that literally cure each and everything. And then you ask Did he go to the lab test? Of course, we trust our guys into the herbs. When you look at the herbal industry and natural resource, you know, our friends in Makerere that teach at College of Natural Resource that doing botany and they're coming up with different herbs. Of course, we have even COVID Dex from Professor Guan. But the issue is he has been actually testing it. Actually, he tested by the time COVID came, he was just giving it a clinical trial to see if it can actually cure COVID or have an intervention in the COVID. The reason I wanted to talk about this thing is that if you're going to create your business, especially those ones with things to eat, drugs, maybe for people, are you thinking about the people? Come to us who are into service, I also thinking about people. So if you're not thinking about people, that's the element that you think about. Number two is highly creative. Design thinking is going to have that element of where like you put actually your mind to test. Your mind should be actually test. You know, you are there and actually I don't want to say I'm going to put down people's ideas, but you go and you're asking people, there's some of us who are teaching students at a certain advanced level, what do you want? And the student will tell you, I'm selling jewelry. What do you want to do? And I'm selling jewelry. I want to do this. I want to do. And you're asking that student, like, how creative have you come up with this idea? How the jewelry will look like how? Because there are so many good jewelry from the United States, from France, from everywhere, where like you can't beat them. But what unique things are you going to put? So in design thinking, it's going to push you actually to think in a creative way. You're going to look at your idea and someone looks at it, wow. The creativity we're talking about can actually be in the design of your logo. First, check all your logos, those ones who are having logos. Do you think you put any creative mind on creation of your logo? I saw very, very simple, simplistic. Now in design, it's the big thing. I don't know whether Emma, you guys know Emma's logo. It's on his status. His profile, you know, this Betweb. And I want also you to put attention to some logos in the world, like let's say Nike, National Geographic, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank. Let me bring you to Standard Chartered Bank. Standard Chartered Bank. Just some crosses and the logo is done. Then there are some of us who are having logos, including myself. Anyway, we are going through a brand refresh for almost all our logos. You are in tourism and you want to put a gorilla in the logo, then a man jumping with a spear, then a lion, then Lake Victoria, then what? Mountain Renzori, then a woman who is carrying banana. That's going to tell the world about Uganda, yet you would have just been simple and be having a story behind your creativity and your creation. So you need to be highly creative. Someone looks at your daddies that they are crunchy, they are very soft, they are good, and they look at the logo, they won't even ask you for a hood or a shirt and put it and say, this is the best, good daddies in around the town. And then they even get a shelf life or a shelf space in one of the biggest hyper supermarkets. That's what you're talking about. Then hands-on. There is no way you're going to be in design thinking and you're telling us how you're going to be unique. What in design thinking you need to show us, show us. Don't tell us, don't tell us. And the most important thing, lastly, on it is being iterative. There are people that don't like to be given feedback. He wants to get it done first time. My dear, it doesn't work like this. Even guys, every single day they are working up with the new ideas. So it's iterative. Every single time you're changing, you're deleting, you're putting back, you're building. That is what we call design thinking. It's going to take all these aspects, and we want to go deeply into them, and you see how best you can maybe go back to it. So design thinking is the result of combining analytical thinking and intuitive. I don't know how many of you have intuition. I don't know that you've done something according to intuition. Emma, what is intuition? Maybe someone may want to know what is intuition. At least you know analytical thinking, but let's talk about my intuition was telling me that, something like that may not happen. What is something intuitive? Emma?
Yes.
Emma, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. This is where you respond to your instincts, your inner man.
Yes.
When your inner man speaks, that voice, that the still voice, I guess, the one that speaks lowly inside of you.
Yeah.
So it comes from the aspect of intuitiveness or using your instincts.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, the ability to understand or to know something immediately, and then especially the inner person without need for conscious reasoning, analysis. Then Naomi asks you, "How did you know that thing will happen?" You're like, "I knew." Of course, some of us who are believers are like, the Holy Spirit led you. Actually, it's like the Holy Spirit actually acting and visiting you to start thinking in terms of other things. Now, in design thinking, you're going to borrow a lot from the Holy Spirit to guide you. But I want to talk about the analytical thinking bit. And this is where now engineers like Emma is a tele engineer, is an ICT engineer. And also when I look at what Francis does, this guy in engineering, there's a lot of design, there's a lot of creation, there's a lot of proving and things. That's it. I mean, that's it. Just think about guys and but these days guys are creating websites through WordPress, but there are times where they get to build it from scratch. They could code and put language together and the site is running. Of course, now technology has advanced. These guys can just, put WordPress and start plugging in things. 10 minutes, the website is done. But I want to talk about analytical things. Even when you can do that using the technology, the human mind has to be there and analytically look at things. I want to emphasize this if you're on this call, all the 15 plus entrepreneurs that are on this call and the CEOs. Entrepreneurs are readers and readers are leaders. And leaders who read, they become very analytical. And this is something that is actually learning today when you're talking about business. Guys, someone picks 100 million and start investing it without asking certain questions. So design thinking is going to really take that analytical mind before you invest. You need to have actually a discussion with yourself. So guys are trying to come up with ideas by impulse and investing and things are dying, not having even a second thought about it. So if you're in this session and this is the beginning of the bootcamp, you really need to have actually that mind that's going to help you to analyze things critically, analytically, and of course using the intuitive way of thinking, you're going to design something very, very awesome and very, very important. So you need to know that that's actually very, very critical moving forward. So design thinking integrates business, technology, and people. So there is, I don't know whether there are some shows that I normally watch. I go to CNN, not because I want to watch CNN so much, but there's a business show called Quest Means Business. It's usually there's a guy called Richard Quest. He does that show. And there's another lady on Saturday called Ellen Jokers. She talks about Africa businesses that are revolutionizing the continent. But what I look for, I just look at the different brands and how they are making it to the top. When I look at the New York Stock Exchange, when you look at Uganda stock market, Kenya, East African stock market, you look at stock markets that are different guys that are listing and the IPOs of different stock markets in the world. I want to look at business, technology, and people. And that's the biggest sweet spot for design thinking, So design thinking there is no single day you're going to leave technology away. That's what I wanted to just be clear on. So even in your small businesses where you're just creating bags, you can code them, you can give them a QR code, and there is a traceability, there is a integration of where is it coming from. Naomi, in your crochet business, you can actually add tech into it, and you're even designing a platform where you guys can buy these things, ship them, and actually add to cart and actually ship them through DHL, and they are probably on the other side, global north. So when we are talking about design thinking, don't forget about emotional innovation. Of course, the emotional innovation technology, very, very, very importantly. And when you're creating those brands, you need to think about marketing. You need to think about the relationships that you're going to build around them. I implore you to go back to your businesses and actually rethink and actually draw even some of it. I'm going to send, but I'm going to send so that you really, really go back to it, even go and do more research. So that's now when we talk about innovation, which is technology. But let's talk about business. Business means viability. And I want to emphasize this. Stop building and investing in business that you're sure. How can you be sure? Of course, you can see what are the market trends, what's the demand like, what are the competitors talking about. So if you're thinking that The guys that are there are actually struggling from your desk research. Don't invest there. Wait to invest. So that's design thinking. It's like you're looking at the business viability. I challenge you to drop those businesses or probably rebuild better models if they are not actually bringing you. There are people that do business for a year. And the business, you know, there is one thing of making losses and the business being profitable. A business can be profitable, but making losses. I don't know whether that's making sense. What does that mean? You can be profitable in future. Let's say you invested 30 million and in operation, gross profit, sorry, expenses, you make a loss, but you really see that from what you've sold, there was a margin of 20%. But because you have so many expenses that are eating up your business for now, you're not making, let's say, that business profit, but it's going to be profitable in the future. I implore you to continue investing. But where you're seeing there is no viability, question, go back to the drawing board and actually rethink. Let me talk about people, the desirability. How desirable are people going to like your business? First of all, are you a consumer of your own brand first? That's the first question. So if you also pick your money and buy from your own company and you think you're not satisfied, then don't push it to other people because they're going to feel the same way you're feeling. And you know why those companies that we like so much talk about they have thrived? Guys are not sleeping. The guys go back to the lab, just think business, nothing else. So you'll be amazed how Facebook, for example, started. They didn't start actually with an aim of putting guys on the platform, every company to have a Facebook page. They just wanted us, the guys were just creating a social way of communication. All that you're seeing Facebook does, or Twitter, or what, even including artificial intelligence, the chat GPTs, guys were just trying to do certain things, and now things are just out of the buzz, creating a lot of sense, and they're making business out of it. So that's people. Business we've looked at. I want to talk about technology. If you see the technology is not feasible, what is feasibility? Is it fitting into your business? There are people that go and buy certain softwares to embed them in their business models in their business, and they don't work completely. And they have invested a lot of money buying a technology, buying a software, hiring people. But when they are cracking it, it's not working. And they're spending a lot of money on these people. So that's why you're seeing that arrow of feasibility. Is it fit? Does it fit into it? So today, when you're talking about design thinking, as far as business is concerned, we need to talk about business. Is it viable? People, do people really desire what you're doing? Technology, are you bringing in things that actually are feasible, that are fitting into it? With that, you're definitely going to talk about it. And the rest, like experience innovation, process innovation, functional innovation, those are just going to make their own way. Emotional innovations, you're just going to be creating. You can see today, mobile money, for example, it was just for sending and receiving money. Emma or Francis or Matthew, if I ask you, Ruswata or Naomi, you know, how many times have you used mobile money just for sending and receiving people? You're using mobile money to buy. You're using mobile money to pay bills. You're using mobile money to do what? I really don't, to save. You're even using your mobile money to do banking. I want to challenge you, MTN and Airtel, even M-Pesa, Safaricom, they never thought that mobile money would take that shape. They just continue working with the ideas, the idea, and right now, mobile money actually has from both MTN and Airtel. That is design thinking. Businesses, even they're not keeping quiet, they are seated, you know. So what we are talking about today makes a lot of sense when you know, someone said use the Momo to open up a MasterCard for his online payments. And who thought, you know, that today, those are some of the things. You know, I have my friends in the UK, in Nottingham. He created a whole department for disruptive innovations in his company. For them, their job, they wake up to come to work, to disrupt what was created yesterday by themselves. So if they work on a solution and they give it to the business operations, like 1 month, they are already thinking, how do we break it? How do we break it and we dismantle it, create something better? Now here we are talking about entrepreneurs in Uganda, maybe even on the call, who are like, I already know what. I will not do anything. Emma tells him to do this. No. Francis tells him to no. Andrew speaks to him. No. 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 I know. You're not even seeing some of the brands today, like Red Pepper. What happened to them? And now also mainstream media is struggling because of social media. Now, you guys, no single person now rushes anymore to the TV to watch news. You can catch it up. So TVs, mainstream media is fighting so hard to get into the social media because that's where the whole world is. And it's going to be worse. Those TVs, if they are not serious, in the next 5 years, they have no space. No single Ugandan will, okay, in the world, no one will actually be there to watch a TV program of 10, 20. Someone just wants to see the highlight and it's gone. Now, what's going to happen in print media if broadcast is facing such things? So if I was working for a TV today as maybe one of their business development, I would just tell my CEO to just create a department of disruptive innovation and say, we know in the next 5 years, we do not focus on people to watch TV the whole day. So what do we need to do? They should be rethinking business models, every single day. Schools, look at schools today. Middle class parents, you know, right now, Emma and his company, they could be working on the next big thing that's going to break, I don't know what thing, and people don't know, and people are sleeping who are entrepreneurs. So that's design thinking. So if you're here and you're not going to integrate people, technology, and business in your own thinking, chances are you're going to really, really struggle a bit in your business. So let's continue to talk about this. Traditional thinking. I don't want you to think flawlessly. I don't want you to have that flawless planning, plans that avoid mistakes, where you avoid failure, where you rigorously analyze, making presentations, the arm's length customer research, periodic things, and that thinking. In design thinking here, we're a bit enlightened in terms of try and error. You see, if you're to look at the number one businesses that we are talking about, I think someone is going to just make daddies. If you're like trying, your dad is actually to make it to State House or to the embassies or to the United States, and guys are shipping them. If you just say, okay, what can we do about this? How can we use ginger and what's just organic things to make these things the next thing? That's it. So in design thinking, we consider failure first than actually success. You're talking about rigorous testing. Every single day you're going back to test. That's why guys in the system, they do it very, 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 very quite often. Lightweight experiments. Guys try to do some experiment. Everything they design, they try to experiment, try to test their product with a price change, deep customer immersion, continuous, and then doing. In design thinking, I told you they do, they're not thinking. They're not talking about they're not talking about things to do with just saying, I'm going to do this. Here you do, you have to do. So applying design thinking in iterations, number one, it will help you to define your challenge. So you get a lot of knowledge. Number next, you're going to have a lot of empathy about it. You'll take the role of your end. Number three, it will help you to be more aware on what to improve. Iterative means you're changing your every single day, like that's it. The idea is changing. Every single day, the idea is changing. And then number next, your creativity is going to be very faster in terms of the idea, and you'll adapt so much from the feedback. That's why when you look at let's say in financial, okay, look at some of the businesses, the banking sector, companies that are not Ugandan. Of course, most of the banks are not Ugandan. Equity is not Ugandan, KCB is not Ugandan, Stanbic Bank is not Ugandan, Sonole Centenary, that's Ugandan, and Housing Finance Bank. So yes, Housing Finance Bank, and DFC is not Ugandan. Exim Bank is not Ugandan. Do you know those guys are having international latest methodical approaches in their businesses? That's why you cannot crack them. You can't. Now, Stanbic Bank, of course, Standard Chartered Bank, of course, that's there. The guys are Indians. The guys are building robust systems in their business. They even had to sit down and say, to hell with retail banking. Right now, they don't allow these customers with retail. Here you're going 10 million banking. No. Do you know where it came from? These guys And now there are those banks that are very, very stuck on their clients, and they're like, okay, whether we are making losses or for them, they went actually for those top-notch customers to make money. Even you can change. Don't focus on everyone. Your niche could be maybe the rich people, the middle class, and you don't sell to anyone who is below the middle class. So that's how you're going actually to use your design thinking. Design thinking will take you into a process, and that process is very simple. Move very fast. And I want to tell you that, first of all, you identify the problem, even within your own company that you're running. Here, it's not even for someone who has not yet started. For both those ones who have started, not yet started, and those who are running, understand what is the problem you're trying to define, creating digital solutions for SMEs in Uganda, East Africa, and Africa. Hey, okay. What is the observation? You're seeing that almost every SME is not even thinking about technology, betting them, and now Emma wants to build the next big thing: systems of accounting, finance, HR, payroll management, customer relationships, customer data, how they are going to do what, and tracking expenses and stuff like that. Then you have to define that point. You need to find ideas. You need to develop the prototype, and then you need to test. So every single day, I told you, people sit and actually the very product they have created, they again disrupt it to move forward. It also has that learning pattern. There's a path of learning. Finding, developing ideas, you're prototyping, and every stage takes a certain kind of angle for you to implement. Due to interest of time, I wanted to more emphasize on the process. You need to have the empathy during the design thinking process. The foundation of human-centered. Are you even thinking about the other person that you're creating for? Remember, you're going to take away something called money from him after he has bought value from you, but the value is buying is actually not of value. People today can actually buy, like for the gentlemen who are here can tell you, the ladies, you think men's clothes or men's wear are cheaper? A man can buy a sneaker shoe of around 300,000. It's like almost $90. Just the shoe, even more. Even there are shoes of 600,000. And do you know how many shoes women can buy with 500,000? You can actually a lot, a whole closet, because your shoes like 25, 30. Of course, they're also graded. But to buy a shoe, a woman to buy a shoe of 500, actually, she has just to go on a TV show, just showcase her shoe. For us, you buy it, and actually, no one even wants to know whether it's 300 or what. But the point I'm trying to make, people no longer think about what we call money. They think about the value. Once it's buying value for money. So the design thinking process will actually make you a little bit empathetic about what. Then defining the empathy findings are going to really unpack and synthesize into compelling needs and insights. Think about Ditto. Think about Lifebuoy. When Lifebuoy started, and how right now, and they have evolved, So, and I want you to also, much as I'm telling you about those brands, I want you to think about a brand called Nokia. I don't know how many of you still have Nokia phones, but I want you to think about a company called Nokia, and Nokia in 2008 when Apple had just launched. Those guys didn't do anything wrong. They just didn't predict the market. I want to tell you that Nokia sold to Microsoft. And you should know the story of Nokia. Probably they just didn't put that thing, and look at Apple. 30 days from now, they are going to release iPhone 17 series. And I want to challenge you whether you've seen any advert of Apple on any media in the world. They just go on Times Square, on Times Square in the United States. They put a billboard and they say, we are releasing, and we are releasing 45 million pieces of iPhone 17 Pro Max or Max Pro, then and all the different sizes, and they are already sold out. Their international franchises or outlets, they have already bought. Imagine such. Else. You know what they are doing at Apple, both in the US and China? Guys are not sleeping. And now for you creating a business where you even go to sleep and you're not disrupting, because actually you know your market. Mama Nakatu on Lukate, who is going to come and buy your fish, We are talking about ideas, and I want everyone here to build ideas that are going to go cross-border ideas. Actually, your buyers are not even only in Uganda, they're in the region, that's East Africa, they're on the whole sub-Saharan Africa, and crossing the global north in Europe and the United States, and maybe also in South America, maybe also in Asia. There, that's your target market, or if that's how your idea you're building is including such things, you're not going to far. So the process is also going to have ideation. Ideate, yes, I'm talking about it. The mode during the design process in which you focus on life and the idea generation. You know? So here you're going to be a little bit lethal on the way you think. Prototyping, getting the ideas out of the exploration and you have to push. I want to tell you that Emma went through the same thing with her colleagues to put your bootcamp. That's the whole thing. They had to be empathetic, defining, ideating, prototyping, and now here we are. This is the first cohort. Who knows how the second cohort would be? Third cohort, 10th cohort. By the time we are in the 20th cohort, we have you guys actually as, you know, peer mentors, actually business developers who are coming actually to come up with better teachment guys in the kingdom to really see how best they can push. And for me, when I was talking to Emma, Emma said, me, Bonnie, even if there are two people that are going to sign up, we are going to teach those two, and we are going to call another cohort next year. When person comes, and we shall call another cohort up to cohort until when we are leaving. And before you know it, we will have created a whole disruption probably in the thinking of the brethren. And that's it. And I want to encourage every single person who is here, sign up every day and learn. So prototyping, of course, testing and having the physical world, see what you're doing, and then you go ahead and test. And here we are with the idea. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And I want to end with this. With design thinking, it will definitely integrate your business, your technology, and people. So it's only through empathy that end users you can design solutions. And show, don't tell, show. So to bring your ideas to life, show instead of telling. You know, I don't know whether you know this, and the end goal of the bootcamp is for you to have very, very good business plans and bankable business. Don't tell us about your idea. Don't tell us about your company. Show it to us. That's why there's an exhibition at the end of the day. It's not for fun. It's not that the guys were out of ideas when they said we shall have an exhibition, people to come and look at it. We want actually to really prove, do you have something actually to show us? Or you're like, yeah, I attended the boot camp, but yeah, the guys were teaching us very good things. Where are they? Okay, just show us just a leaflet of what you find. And you bring them. So you need to experiment, bringing your ideas to real and actually learn from people's reactions. People should give you ideas. As in the UK in February, and I visited Nottingham Business School in Nottingham. And the business school in Nottingham does not teach like our business school moves, Jambogo, and those other guys that are teaching business. There's business school at Nottingham Business School. And I think most of the business school, and also when I went to London at Westminster, I visited University of Westminster in London. But I want to talk about the business school in Nottingham. It collaborates, actually, the business school collaborates with the School of Technology, Design, Art. I don't know if you get me. College of Design, Engineering, Technology, and Art works hand in hand with the business school. Why? Because the guys, the engineers, the electrical engineers, the telecom engineers, the tech guys like Emma and the Francis, when they are designing, when they are creating their prototypes, they go and now sit with business students now to put business models onto their creations. I think I'll send you, and that is their concepts. They are examinable. So a student at the business school, together with those who are in the engineering school, they sit and create, and then they let companies in the UK to come and look at those business models, those prototypes, if they can make it probably their testing market. And venture capitalists come now and invest in them. Even their universities, they go, Academy and the government in the UK, pick money and be able to invest in these ideas. Let me if I forget that. But the point I wanted to make is that, so here for us, again, we are busy in classes teaching students theoretical things that actually don't even apply. The other guys are seated with their fellow students creating the next big thing. So I was like, actually, I was able to ask. And they told me these are students' projects. These are students' projects. Oh, we share where others, yes. And they showcase it's, and that's your coursework, and that's your project. And the companies come and probably they are investing in them, they are challenging them to do, and the whole process is on the design thinking process. Yes, you can be able to check them out. I've seen they are like fellow. But I was like, what? They told me yes. That's not bachelor's. For masters, there's advanced. These colleges work hard in hand. These are creating lights. These are creating different things. Just create something that the professor can come look at and then guys come and look at it. Wait, like that's it. So what we're talking about, actually want to see what you're doing and being action oriented and moving, stuff like that. Yeah, I think I want to stop here. And I wanted us to look at I want to sharing this, and I show you the template I wanted us to work on later. We shall also share with Emma, share with us, and it is on, just a moment. It's just a minute. It's on design thinking. It's the template that I wanted us go with, and you test your ideas and try to look at your ideas in a better deep dive as well. So if you can allow me to share, take once again. Can you see my new screen, Emma? Hello, Emma. Can you say you're seeing my screen? Okay, yeah, Letitia says yes. So this is a design thinking template that I wanted to share with the team later. And Emma, maybe we shall post it. Maybe you'll have a Google or a link where they can access. It is for us to have the whole process here with us. And of course, when you try to look at design thinking, quality designers write their questions and ideas out. So if you're an entrepreneur today, I want you to write whatever is bothering you out in this canvas, in this template. And you need to understand what you're trying to solve. You see, if you're just making a business and actually you're not actually your own buyer, you're lying to the community where you're going to sell. It's like they're going to ask you questions when you cannot answer them. Using this template to think about your innovation and write your ideas, not every idea is actually going to work. I don't know whether you know that. And let's not get stuck to our companies or businesses. Disrupt them, invest in other things, in other segments of customer. If it's not working this way, create another customer channel where you can actually deliver your. So not every idea is going to work right away. You may have to make changes or revisions. That's the iterative thing that we talked about. You need to note the number of iterations it takes to reach a successful prototype. I'm telling you. So even the mobile phone that you're having, even the good thing that you like putting on, things went through a whole process to where they are. So these are just things for you. Emphasize. It's going to ask you questions like, who are you trying to help? Who are you going to put in mind? So what help is needed? If you cannot solve that, if you cannot actually write answers to that question, you will definitely need to go back to what I've just told. The session is recorded, the notes are there, and then you try to see how are you going to push it. Number two, you need to define what's the problem then you're trying to solve for these people that you try to put at your heart. And then you go ahead and actually be able to ideate. How many ideas can you come up with? Which idea is the most original? Write as many ideas, write as many customers you're targeting as possible, write as many destinations where you want to reach as possible, delete them, add them back, delete them, not until you sieve out, and allow people to give you feedback on your company, your business. That's going to really, really help. So that is a question that you need to ask about ideation. Then on prototyping, then after you've ideated, you need to create which idea will you try out, and you try to design and build. I don't know whether most of you have constructed your dream houses, but I want you to challenge all the architects that are going to draw for you plans. Yeah? Ask him all the questions. Design for me a house when I'm a youth, I can be able to enter it. When I advance in age, I can still be able to. Don't design for me a house when I advance to 8 years. It's very hard for me to enter that house. Maybe when all my children have left and I'm left with my wife, or I'm alone in the house. So if you can't ask such, if you cannot answer such questions, then it's going to design for you a house where you need actually to sell it because you can no longer go up probably to your bedroom, or you don't know how to do something moving forward. Then you need to test. How did your prototype work? You know, how can you do? What can you do to improve? How will you improve certain things? And then lastly, you'll be able to repeat the same good idea, good designs take place in iteration. They take place in when you're changing well, and they don't stop. So make improvements on your businesses, even those that are running, make improvements in your ideas that you're about to start, make improvements in the business projects that are probably into the phase of launch. Once you've successfully developed your prototypes, it's time to report your work and include pictures of your processes, your planning, your documents, make a video about your work and results, and show us what you need to do. So